Okay, so we finished up with geography. You guys answered the do now question, and now we're going to move on. So we're going to talk about the earliest dynasties of ancient China and what were the characteristics of each of these dynasties. So yesterday, or I think so, yeah, yesterday when we talked about Egyptian kingdoms, we talked about the word dynasty and the idea that this is the right to rule passed down through bloodline, right? So it's like family association. And China in the early stages, and well, for a long time after, is going to be a dynastic system of government where the people in charge are, are passing down the right to rule through their family. So there's going to be three early Chinese dynasties that we're going to take a look at, and here we go. All right, I'll give you a second. Okay, so while you finish writing, so the three dynasties that we're going to look at are the Shang, the Zhou, Zhou is Zhou, and the Qin, Qin. So Shang, Zhou, and Qin. These early dynasties rule by what's called the mandate of heaven. So this is a piece of vocabulary that we do need. We need to know what mandate of heaven is. Mandate of heaven is basically God's approval of a dynasty's right to rule. Essentially, the idea is that a dynasty must provide good government to the people, and if they do provide that good government, God approves of their positions in power. If they provide poor government and they get overthrown, that means that God disapproves. So it's kind of this kind of circular reasoning. So they are in power because God wants them to be in power. And the way you can tell is because if God did not want them to be in power, they'll get overthrown and replaced. So that's kind of this piece of circular reasoning that explains how the mandate of heaven works. So the mandate of heaven is essentially part of what's called the dynastic cycle. So this is certainly a thing that you need. You need to copy this chart. You absolutely need to know this. Okay, so I will give you a minute to copy down this chart. Just use the arrows and use each of the four steps and kind of illustrate how the cycle works. Okay, so I'll give you a minute. So essentially, the dynastic cycle is the process by which a particular family comes to power, the manner in which they govern, and then how they are eventually replaced. This is called the dynastic cycle. So essentially, a new dynasty claims the mandate of heaven. We are in power. God wants us to be in power. In the beginning, things go great. Civilization flourishes. People are taken care of. Eventually, that dynasty may become corrupt or stop providing good government. There might be civil unrest. People might be unhappy. And then eventually that dynasty loses the mandate of heaven and they are then overthrown. The important thing to understand here is that this is also a function of geography also, kind of, right? Because we said that China is so isolated, when a dynasty is overthrown, it is overthrown from within China, right? So it is the people of China typically rising up and overthrowing their own government and replacing it with, new leadership. So this is not like everything is going great for everyone and then a foreign country comes and invades China and overthrows the government. That's not really the way it works. So because this is coming from within, these overthrows, you can say that the reason they're being overthrown is because there are groups of people in China that are unhappy with their rule. So that is what we're talking about when people stop providing good government and then they lose the mandate of heaven and become overthrown. So that is the tie to geography. One could argue that this particular dynastic cycle might not apply if China wasn't so isolated. If they invited in people from all other areas, then maybe they provide good government and everything is fine for the people of China, but they get overthrown, by some other conquering empire. That would kind of mess up, this dynamic and what they're laying out here. So this dynamic, this dynastic cycle exists maybe because of the geography that surrounds China also, or we could say at the very least it contributes to it, right? So one thing kind of does work with the other.